Yes. Excellent. Hi, Martha. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for making the time to catch up with me today. Welcome to our Conversations with Women in Technology series. Always a delight to sit down and have a chat with you. So thanks for making the time. And I know you've had a massive week too, given the SAP Success Factors go live, and I know that's been a massive piece of work in your organisation. So thank you. Really great to catch up with you today. You've had such an impressive career in technology, 20 plus years with a really strong track record driving large-scale IT transformation across a number of different industries: retail, supply chain, professional services, insurance, and of course now healthcare and aged care. And over that time, you've worked for businesses like IAG, IBM, Target, Reject Shop, and now, of course, VMCH, Villa Maria Catholic Homes, where you've been CIO for the past 2 years. What a fabulous career, and you've gone into an industry that's highly impactful. You're obviously a Victorian not-for-profit organisation providing aged care and residential care to those that need it. And so I'm really looking forward to this chat today to kind of explore your career trajectory. And you mentioned before too that you were actually interested in nursing in high school, so it feels like you've come full circle in joining the MCH.
It certainly feels that way. Yes, thank you for having me on, Katrina. I'm happy to have some time to chat to you and I guess reflect on where we both are in our lives and careers right now. Yes, I have been in the tech sector for 20 plus years. Yeah, did initially think nursing was the pathway for me. Nursing, teaching, those were pretty much the opportunities being offered in my cohort coming out of high school and heading into university back in the 90s. But somehow I managed to traverse my way into the world of technology and still here today and enjoying it every day.
Well, as you and I were chatting about earlier, there's so much change, and the industry today is not what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, which is what keeps it so interesting. I don't think there's any other industry that provides so much rapid change and evolution as what the tech sector does. So what inspired you to pursue a career in technology? Like, how have you, you were thinking about nursing, you've ended up in technology, very different career. What inspired that decision?
I think it was the time and place. I grew up in Ireland through what was the beginning of the tech boom. So there was a significant Celtic Tiger investment in our country. Our government took a very strategic decision to invest in technology companies and lured a lot of multinationals into Ireland late 90s. And that opened up so much pathways and opportunities for employment for the younger, I guess, cohorts coming out of university. Prior to that, generally in Ireland, you were raised to either stay home or immigrate. So the opportunities to suddenly have professional services, get involved in technology, get involved in financial services, opened up a whole load of pathways for many of us at that very early juncture in our career. And there was significant investment from the universities at the time to get us through and get us educated from a tech literacy point of view. It hadn't been something that was really part of our DNA. It was, I guess, Irish people are generally very academic, very interested in education and studies, but the technology area was something that was harnessed very heavily in that time frame. I had gone through my primary degree and I had an opportunity to do a compressed master's, basically, which was the equivalent of a sliced down version of a 4-year computer science degree, compressed into the best part of 12 months. So I immersed myself pretty deeply into that and learned very quickly that I didn't want to be a coder, but I really enjoyed working and learning and being curious around the networking, around project delivery, around software delivery, and basically stepped out of my career and had many, many opportunities to work in tech from there. I came across to Australia for a bit of an adventure back in 2003 and landed into various different environments. And one of the most challenging and exciting at that time was with Census. We were looking at bringing Yellow Pages online. And I got to work with some amazing developers and amazing project manager. And we started to work through very quickly on what was probably my beginnings of agile ways of working. And back then that was probably very new, very exciting, young, vibrant teams working really hard and diligently to come up with new solutions. So I think my appetite was whetted from there on in, and I got sucked into project delivery, project management, and just thrived in it. I love a piece of work, an outcome to achieve, and run at it and go at it hard and generally work with people with high energy who want to get the job done.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think and you've worked in industries where technology has obviously been front and center as well, like retail and supply chain. So you had obviously for a number of years working in senior project and program management roles. How did you then make the transition into the CIO role? Like how would you sort of describe your transition into the executive role?
Well, it was never something I set out to do, if I'm
Mm.
very honest. I really enjoyed getting my hands dirty and getting the programs delivered. Within my time at Target, I worked with this amazing CIO by the name of Terry Court, who's still very much in my ecosystem, who continued to push and push and push me into more elevated roles. He was very keen on getting a more diverse cohort across his leadership team and opened the door and pushed me in and basically continued to I guess, develop my career and my aspirations. I wasn't necessarily interested in getting to the executive table. I really enjoyed being in the work, doing the work, and getting the achievement and satisfaction of getting something delivered. Getting progressing into more leadership roles and getting less hands-on, I found incredibly frustrating. I really didn't like not being in it, not being able to be part of the team. But over time, I learned how to evolve as a human and learn that my role as an executive was to support the teams doing the work, remove the blockers, help them with their risks, help with the influencing, and basically get out ahead and open the pathways to remove blockers. And eventually, as I matured, it was something that I guess I got better at and better at with practice, but it definitely wasn't something that I aspired to do. And then once I started to see the impact I could have and how I could support my teams to be more successful, to support a business to be more successful, I guess my ambition sort of caught fire then, and I just progressed. But generally, it's been because of the mentors and coaches in my life that have sort of tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Let's go." But I don't know that I necessarily would have put my hand up and stood up for myself to put myself forward for a lot of these opportunities. I've usually had strong either leaders or managers behind me who've given me that push.
Yeah. And I think that sort of highlights too how important it is to sort of have those mentors and sponsors, because in many cases they're the ones that really help kind of shape the trajectory and help you break into executive leadership. And so what advice would you have for others, I guess, in terms of how you go? I mean, you mentioned Terry Court, but how do people go about seeking out those sponsors that are going to really help them elevate their career?
I think in some ways they find you as well, right? I think curiosity and willingness to learn, willingness to find ways to solve problems, reaching out and being very vulnerable. I mean, I think there's you can sit in your own little world trying to solve a problem, or you can lift your head up and go, I can't solve everything myself, and go and find people who will help you. And it's interesting. I think we have these blockers in our heads that if we look for help, we're seen to be less than, or that we don't know the answers. And when you go and look for help, and when you have a challenge you need support on, many people will come and help you. And I think for me, when I was at the reject shop, that was the big learning for me. I came from a large industrialized West Farmers organization where we had lots of support, lots of scaffolding, lots of people to help you across lots of areas. Then I went into a small business that was really, I guess, struggling and flailing and then surged. But I didn't have that same level of infrastructure to support me when we had problems with a contract negotiation or if I needed a new vendor. And I started reaching out to all of my network and my various peers, people I'd worked with, and everybody I approached helped me. And in my current role, the same deal. We've just implemented the likes of SAP Success Factors. When we were working through that conversation and discussion about what was right for our organization, again, I reached out to Terry Court and different people from my previous work experiences, and everybody came to the table with ideas, with solutions, with ways of people want to help you. So I think we need somehow to remove I have to have all the answers. I need to know how to do this on my own to let's get the coalition of the willing to help you. And everybody will help you if you reach out, I think. So I think that's the big lesson for me. You don't have to have the answers. The answers are out there. Just go get them and speak to people, get advice.
Yeah, no, I think I think success is never a solo journey, and I think also a good example of having the right people around you. And you have done an amazing job cultivating your network. I know you're often speaking at events, you're often attending events. You do a fantastic job recommending other executive talent to me as well, and you've done such a great job sort of really supporting and fostering that network. How do you? I mean, when you've already got a busy, demanding full-time full-time CIO role, how do you make time to then also really stay close to your network and have all of those, I guess, conversations where you can actually support each other?
I think technology helps. So
Yeah.
Teams, the likes of WhatsApp, lots of chats. I think I've got a great group of peers that support me. I have an amazing group of women in technology that we have sort of come up through the ranks, and we see how difficult it is to support and maintain diversity in the technology sphere in general. And I think, again, it's back to that coalition of the willing. There's an amazing peer group that we are aware and watch out for each other. We share and help. We find ways to remove blockers. You know, I'm a new Australian. I didn't have a community when I first got here. I didn't have people that could refer me or recommend me. So it was all on my own back to start with. And I don't want it to be as hard for others. And if there's great talent, I'm always out there looking. I'm always looking to see where I can hire people for my team or help somebody else uplift their capability, find ways to learn. I mean, the younger technologists coming through are teaching me. I've got grads in my team that are giving me more advice than I would get on my own, right? So there's keeping your brain fresh, keeping your environment circulated. I think cross-pollination is critical for us to solve problems using technology, but understanding business problems, understanding how we can do things better. And you can only do that by having a very diverse group of people around you in general, age, demographic, community, wherever. My workforce is quite diverse. The majority of our workforce are female in this aged care and caring sector, multilingual. So as I said earlier, some of our staff are English is their third language. How do I make sure that the technology solutions I'm delivering is fit for them if I don't have a workforce that reflects them? So I think getting out and about, meeting people, attending things, learning with all of the evolutions in technology, if we're not going to hear and see and speak to people, you're just going to get stale. And this world is moving so quickly, and this sector is moving so quickly, and we've got to be the ones that are trying to bring back this information to our organizations. So I think it's really crucial for us to do that. But again, you pick your battles, right? When have you got
Yeah.
time? You scale your availability. Sometimes I'll find I'll have 4 things one week and then I'll have nothing for 2. So it depends.
Yeah.
There's lots of hot things happening. But again, Teams communication is so easy now. You can do a Teams chat with a glass of wine with your friends on a Friday evening if you're too busy to get to the restaurants, right? So we find
Yeah.
ways around to make it easy to spend time together. So I think that's important.
Where there's a will, there's a way. No, I agree. And I think you've certainly done a lot in terms of promoting women in STEM and obviously, really elevating women in the workforce. Are there some policies or programs that you've seen that have really helped really move the dial in terms of, I guess, creating more equitable teams in workplaces?
It's a very challenging situation, particularly in the tech sector. My first early foray into realizing that there was a gap in the, I guess, female representation in technology was when I was at Target. And
Yeah.
when Terry, my boss at the time, promoted me into a leadership role, and he said, I want more females in tech, go get them. And I'm like, it wasn't a thing I ever thought about. Um, and then I suddenly had to stop and reflect and go, where are they? How do I get them? Why is it my problem? So suddenly it became you are the only woman, so get some
Yeah.
other women. And then
Yeah.
my recognition very early on was I needed to get some of my male peers to help me influence how that could change. And luckily I did. I met some amazing peers that were willing to come to events with me. There's a particular champion, Michael Chevarella,
Oh,
who I
yes.
used to drag along to lots of events, and he'd walk into a wall of blue suits with me, and he'd go, "Oh," and yeah, there's no females here, Michael, and he's like, "Okay." So I think I started to make a very concerted effort then to have conversations about diversity, and not just female, but diversity in general, age profile, community, CALD. Um, and I started up a women in technology forum at Target, and literally would ring vendors, ring anyone. I'd ring the likes of you, say, come in and talk to us, help me educate us, our teams, our people. What should we be doing differently? How are we hiring? How are we finding talent? The big lesson for me was when you see a female in a role, you get
Mm.
far more females applying for a role. So since I've been in leadership roles, I really haven't had too many challenges getting females into leadership or technology roles.
Yeah.
Particularly a Target in the reject shop, we think we got 50-50 split at one point.
Fantastic.
And this the same in my current leadership team. So I think
Mm.
once people see somebody in it, they feel they can do it. The challenge I'm seeing now, I think for a lot of time it was about trying to get young people into tech. We're getting them in, but we're losing them mid-career now, and that's the bit that I worry about. So how do we try and have more flexible working? How do we support parents raising their children to be more flexible? While COVID's taught us flexibility, technology still is tough on people, right? There's late nights, it's changes, it's weekend work. And that's the stuff that does exclude or make things hard for people when they've got other caring demands, whether it's, the sandwich generation, aging parents, younger children. And that's where the tech world can be quite a challenge to keep the pace, right? It's a very demanding sector. It moves really quickly. And you've got to be ready to keep the speed up all the time. And I think that's where it becomes a challenge.
I agree. And I think it's interesting because you're right. Like, we're seeing a lot more women get into technology now, but it's how do we also then see women sort of progress more into executive roles? And then the next step, how do we how do we support more women entering the boardroom and taking on more
Yeah.
board and chair roles, which is, you look at ASX listed businesses and female representation, it's still incredibly low. And so, yes, there's obviously still a long way to go. And I know that's something you and I sort of often talk about, particularly in March around International Women's Day.
Yes.
We talk about the progress that we've made and where we still need to go to continue to drive progress. I suppose sort of thinking about sort of the future of leadership, when you reflect on your own career, and I know your whole career has been spent driving change and transformation, what then do you see as your leadership superpower?
I think influence and delivery. So
Yeah.
there's so many people who can talk strategy but don't deliver. There's a lot of time invested in communicating what if and what we can do. I think as leaders, standing up and saying, I'm aiming for this, let's work together on this and deliver it is what's given me, I guess, credibility. So building trust, making a commitment, making it happen. And if you can't make it happen, putting your hand up and saying, hey, I can't make it happen. There's these dependencies or we've this issue or something else has become a priority. I think having that dialogue is really important. Working through with your stakeholders to ensure that they understand why. That's probably been my biggest learning. Learning how to translate technology problems to executives is a challenge. Trying to understand how to get to their hearts and minds around cyber is a challenge. So I think for my superpowers that I've evolved. I've evolved a lot. I've learned how to work with people differently. I'm a very direct person, which sometimes can be confronting for people, but I rather work a very straight bat and go, this is how it is, help me work with you. I've tried to become more nuanced as I have learned to work with different styles. Working with very different cultures, I've evolved a lot, I think, in this country. But for me, it's really committing and delivering.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. So many people can talk a good game, but it's all in the execution at the end of the day.
Sometimes.
And
Mm.
and so on that, I mean, sort of when you think about I mean, you've led technology transformation in some very complex environments. Obviously, the very fast-paced world of retail, and now, of course, the heavily regulated world of aged care. What then? What's probably the biggest misconception do you think that leaders often have when it comes to sort of what with real digital transformation and what that looks like? What's the biggest misconception that leaders have?
I think sometimes it's fear and fear of failure, probably. I think our fear that it's going to be too disruptive or that our workforce can't adapt. We have just implemented SAP Success Factors, as I briefly mentioned.
Yeah.
That's a significant investment and change in our environment from a technology stack point of view. What I have learned in this sector is that generally the tools that have been delivered over the past are fairly rudimentary. They're not particularly malleable. They don't have great end user interfaces. We have now delivered something that looks like a normal app that you would buy on an Apple iPhone.
Yeah.
Our workforce are far more digitally savvy than sometimes we give them credit for. They've got more digital tech at home than what they have at work. And for me, having stood back, we're on our second payroll run. We've all sort of been holding our breath to make sure that this worked well. The response has been amazing. Our workforce have responded really positively. They're able to use the app. There's been very little friction by way of adoption. So I think for us as a leadership team to stand back and go, okay, this change isn't so scary. People are willing to accept and learn and run with it. And we've got much more digestible technology solutions, I think, now for our workforce. So I think for me that was a massive learning.
Yeah, and a massive piece of work, because I know you said earlier that it was probably the biggest uplift the organisation has ever done, and it hadn't been touched in a decade. So,
Yeah.
not easy delivering that kind of transformation. And I think probably the piece that a lot of organisations struggle with is then the education piece, in terms
Yes.
of it's all good and well sort of implementing the technology and the tools and giving your people all of that. But if they don't then have the education to actually leverage those tools, then what's the point in making the investment? So I guess when we sort of think about technology trends, and there's a lot that can be done around AI, even just automating workflows. I mean, there's a lot of technology trends out there at the moment. Is there one that's potentially overhyped in your view?
I don't know if there's probably a bit of overhype with AI, but there's so much opportunity. I see AI offering us a swag of opportunities for the future. We have to get in front of it quickly. I think there's overhype with the sales pitches of it, but I think trying to understand where the use cases are. We're in a very heavily regulated industry, as you said. We look after clinical and resident and employee data. We need to make sure that we're protecting that and we're keeping it quite safe. The threat with AI is the cyber bad guys have access to this. They're moving really quickly. They're learning how to use it. We need to do the same thing. So I think from um, a country, how we harness AI, how we educate our workforce, how do we get to harness it so that we can get in front of it as quickly as we can? As I said to you, everything from our AI learning so far is from the past. We're using data from previous documents, previous learnings. We need now to think about what do we do with that information from the past and get in front of it from a human point of view, and how do you work through it so to get the right outcome. There's so much opportunity to automate, to remove, I guess, dead time or time that's not particularly productive, in order to support our people to spend more time with their clients, their residents, whatever services that they're providing. So I think getting the governance around that, understanding where you can get the best outcomes, but still keeping the person at the center of everything that we do is quite crucial.
Absolutely. And I think as we sort of, I mean, the technology landscape's obviously shifting rapidly. And as we sort of talked about earlier, sort of the technology literacy in a workforce today is very different to what it was 20 years ago, obviously with AI and automation, and everyone has technology at their fingertips 24/7. What are some skills and some mindsets that you think are going to be most important for the next generation of technology leaders?
I think curiosity and willingness to just experiment, get out and learn, ask questions, just keep your eye on the horizon, see what's coming, and then try to see what is coming and where can you potentially bring that back and apply it, trial it, test it, and abandon it if it doesn't work, right? Just because you've committed to something doesn't mean that you have to stick with it all the way through. I have an amazing CEO, and we had partnered with a vendor who really wasn't bringing us down the right path. And we were getting quite nervous early on in a journey. And she basically said, stop it now. And sometimes that takes a lot of bravery too, because you feel, oh, you know, it's regret cost. We've already invested. We need to keep going. So I think from a leadership point of view is understanding, hey, you're not going to get it all right all the time. Understand that you're going to get mostly right, but talk to people, learn, be curious, and just keep learning. Keep, like, podcasts, books, e-learning. There's so many opportunities for nano learning, for micro learning. I think if we don't keep our brains fresh and keep ourselves as literate as possible, we're going to be left behind. So that goes for everybody in every workforce and every aspect of their lives, I think. And there's no excuse now. There's very little barriers for entry to learn. YouTube's free. You know, there's Spotify. You've got lots of free mechanisms for getting information. It's trying to distill what's accurate information. I guess that's the next thing we have to be quite wary of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. The opportunity for self-development and self-learning is critical. And we were talking earlier about kind of university degrees today, and the curriculum of those university degrees, and just how relevant they are. And so I think taking those opportunities to sort of upskill on the latest and greatest trends as and when they emerge is really key. What's the best piece of career advice that you've ever received, Martha?
I've been thinking about this. I think it's just do it. I think it's be brave and step out. I think a lot of the times we stand in the shadows, probably not necessarily willing to back ourselves, but most people want you to be successful. Most people will do what they can to help you. And there'll be distractors, but the distractors aren't the ones that are really trying to make the change, right? So for me, it's giving things a go. I'm really very determined. I have a lot of grit and very resilient. But I've also had good advice where I've been told, take a pause, take a breath, ease off. I am a very driven person by nature. And I don't always see that when I'm in things. So it's always good to have good advisors around you to go, you've had a rough few months now, you've had a big sprint to get something done, take a beat. And I think that's probably been really good advice for me too, because I'm the type of person who picks something up and goes, picks up the next thing, goes. So trying to bring that pause in to do some self-reflection is always really important. But sometimes I need people to help me do that or to help me see that for myself.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we all need those people in our lives that can challenge us and that are going to give us that complete and utter honesty, because and that are going to really just help us kind of be the best version of ourselves, and come from that real genuine place of care.
Yes.
And then I guess sort of finally, Martha, sort of as we sort of approach the end of 2025, sort of going into the year ahead, what do you think are probably the top one or two things that every business leader should be thinking about right now?
Cybersecurity, which I think none of us can ever not think about, and how to support our staff work optimally. I want people to feel secure. There's so much concern around loss of work and loss of opportunity because of AI. And I want people to reframe it and say, how can AI help me do my job better? How can I be more effective? How can I use the tools to ensure that I am providing the best service, the best support, the best outcome or objective to whatever and whoever you're serving. It's really, but again, back the cyber threat will be something that I think we all have to think about. We've just heard yesterday we had another breach with Sydney University. I think I worry about that level of data that's out there everywhere for this young community cohorts of people coming out of into the workforce, and data is flying around everywhere. So I think just education of our staff, our community. I love what the banks are doing, just trying to find ways to block out the threat actors coming in, using AI to distract a lot of the incoming diversions. The more we can work together as a community across the whole sector, the more protected we can be as a country. So my hope over the next couple of years is we'll continue to forage deeper and deeper into that protection around our whole sector, our borders, and ultimately we'll make it just too hard for those threat actors to want to come in. So let's make it really difficult for them. Let's invest, let's train our people, let's educate people on how to protect themselves, protect their families, obviously protect their organizations, but protect the whole country, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's never been a time where we need to be more vigilant than ever before. It's not, I think when it comes to cybercrime, it's not a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, it's really a matter of when, isn't it? It's
True.
inevitable. It's happening every day. It's happening in so many organizations.
Yeah,
Yes, a lot of them make the newspaper, but there's so many that don't.
correct.
So organisations absolutely need to make sure that they've got all of the right practices and policies and education in
Education.
place. Yeah,
Yeah, it's education. We can put all the tools we like anywhere. You hit the wrong link, you open the wrong site, and they're in, right? These guys have the resources behind them, they have the investment behind them. That's all they're doing. That's all they focus on is getting in. We're trying to serve a customer, serve a resident, serve a client. We're trying to run a business. Their whole focus is trying to get in and get what they can. So cash grab. So that's the
absolutely.
challenge.
Yeah, that's it. And with more data and more AI being used, it's more inevitable that it's going to happen. So I think yes, that's a good point. I think that needs to be front of mind, not just for CIOs, but clearly every business leader out there. And is there anything else that you would sort of say in terms of sort of when you're thinking about how you can support and help the next generation of technology leaders? Any other sort of parting words that you would leave them with?
I just think try and find ways to help any way you can, give back. I mean, there's so much satisfaction in being able to just connect somebody to somebody that might be able to help them, or try and connect a business leader with the technologist who can solve the problem. There's so many opportunities and it's easy to do. I think if we think back of where we were in our careers, if I think of how I started out and the amount of people that have helped me, I feel really blessed in as a new Australian to a new country without any network. My career has progressed through hard work, but also through lots of people who've supported me along the way, who've given me the scaffoldings, who've given me the ladders, who've given me the scales to get up. And not that that's all that everybody ever wants to do. But for me, that's what was my career progression. But for me, it's about giving people meaningful opportunities to contribute in their lives. And work is a huge part of your life. You're spending a lot of time there. So you want people to at least feel satisfied that they're contributing to the larger community. So for me, it's find ways to give back any way you can. It can be micro as a coffee, it can be attending an event, but it's trying to find ways to show people that there's meaningful opportunities in this country and harness them.
Yeah, and I think you have done such a wonderful job sort of paving the way for others. So definitely a trailblazer in my eyes. And thank you for everything that you've done for the industry and also for women in particular in the industry, because you have done such a great job advocating for others and giving and providing opportunities and a platform and a voice for women to progress their careers. So thank you.
Thank you.
As always, loved our chat today, Martha. So thank you so much for making the time. I always love hearing about your career journey, and I have no doubt that the best is still yet to come. So thank you so much for taking the time to catch up.
Not at all. Very happy to, Katrina. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Just hit stop.